What if I told you two of humanity's deepest needs, truth and order, are often in direct conflict? Truth is disruptive. It questions authority, challenges traditions, and forces us to face uncomfortable realities.
You can't handle the truth!
Order, on the other hand, is comforting. It offers stability, predictability, and the sense that everything is under control.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Both are essential, but history shows us that when one dominates, societies tend to suffer. Too much truth and we drown in chaos. Too much order and we suffocate under intense control. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a tension shaping our world today. So let's zoom out and explore what happens when truth and order collide. Welcome back to Thinking and Being. If you like what you see today, please be sure to like and subscribe, as this will enable you to see more content from myself and others just like this. And as I've said before, my pledge to you is that I'll try to make each successive video 1% better as we go. In my last video, we explored the slippery slope of how societies, step by step, gradually can build systems of total control, often with the best of intentions. This video continues that journey. At the heart of it is a question every society faces. Do we value truth more or order more? Modern life constantly asks us to pick unfiltered truths in a chaotic online world or curated order in institutions, media, and now even in artificial intelligence. Philosopher Thomas Hobbes argued for order at all costs, while philosophers like John Stuart Mill insisted on freedom for truth. And as Yuval Noah Harari notes in his book Nexus, which I mentioned in my last video, whoever manages information often decides how this balance tilts. We're living in an age where this choice isn't abstract. It's shaping our daily lives, our politics, and the technology we trust. So first, let's talk about the definitions of both truth and order. When I say truth, I'm not talking about simple facts like the sky being blue. I mean truth as humanity has chased it for centuries. The search for what's real, even when it's inconvenient. Scientists push towards truth by questioning assumptions. Philosophers wrestle with truth by challenging appearances. Journalists dig for truth when power hides it.
But there's the truth and the truth. Let me show you.
The thing about truth is that it's messy. It doesn't care about stability. Galileo told the truth about the Earth orbiting the sun, and it shook the order of the Catholic Church. Whistleblowers reveal truths that disrupt governments or corporations. Truth has a lot of power, but that power often destabilizes. And then there's order. Order is the opposite of messy. It's structure, stability, predictability, and psychologically, order gives us a sense of safety. We crave it, especially in uncertain times. Order is laws and institutions that make society feel reliable. It's the traffic light that keeps cars from colliding, the rules that make schools function, the rituals that hold families together. But here's the catch. Order often resists truth, because truth asks difficult questions and order prefers harmony.
Mark, you don't know what it's like. I'm the one out there every day putting his ass on the line, and I'm not out of order. You're out of order. The whole freaking system is out of order. You want the truth? You want the truth? You can't handle the truth! Because when you reach over and put your hand into a pile of goo that was your best friend's face, you'll know what to do. Forget it, Marge. It's Chinatown.
Order says, don't rock the boat, while truth says the boat is already sinking and someone needs to say it. So here's why these two are often at odds. Truth disrupts and order suppresses. A society that prizes order too much will censor uncomfortable truths to preserve stability. A society that prizes truth too much can become fragmented, with too many competing narratives and no cohesion. The Catholic Church resisted Galileo in the name of order. Soviet Russia silenced dissent in the name of unity. On the other hand, societies flooded with unchecked truths, conspiracy theories, unverified claims, and disinformation can unravel because nobody knows what to trust. Truth and order pull against each other, and the tension between them defines how societies rise or fall. And our brains are wired to crave order. Uncertainty makes us anxious, and order promises certainty. This is why people often support strong leaders during crises. They want clarity even if it comes at the cost of freedom. This craving explains why societies historically lean towards order. It feels safer to silence dissent than to live with chaos. But psychology can also blind us. What feels comforting in the moment can lock us into long-term stagnation. On the flip side, humans also crave truth. We're pattern seekers, driven by curiosity. The philosopher Karl Popper said, "Science advances because we dare to falsify what we think we know." Psychologically, truth gives us meaning, and it empowers us with agency. Societies that embrace truth create breakthroughs in science, art, and philosophy. But truth is also uncomfortable. It can make us question our own identities, our own traditions, and even morality itself. That discomfort is why many people trade truth for order when they feel pressured, even though deep down, we need both. And then philosophers have long wrestled with this tension. Plato's allegory of the cave shows truth as painful. Prisoners prefer the comfort of shadows on the wall rather than face the chaotic light of reality. For Plato, order is illusion and truth is liberation, no matter how disruptive. Friedrich Nietzsche flipped this, arguing that truth itself is a kind of human construct, shaped by power and perspective. What we call order, he suggested, is often just the imposition of someone else's truth over everyone else. Both thinkers capture the paradox. Truth can destabilize order, and order can distort truth. Let's put this in systems thinking terms. Imagine a causal loop. More truth-seeking creates disruption. More disruption weakens order. Less order creates instability, which ironically fuels even more desperate searches for truth. On the other side, more order creates more stability, which reduces openness to truth. Suppressing truth may increase stability short-term, but it erodes adaptability long-term, making collapse more likely. It's a balancing loop that tips easily towards extremes. This is why truth and order aren't just abstract concepts, they're feedback systems shaping the fate of societies. And one of the things I do in my videos is a YouTube content creator shout out. And today I'd like to promote Erica Mallet. She used to be called Theory of One, but she changed her channel recently. Doesn't matter because she's getting lots of views. Real quick, I do this because they have incredibly engaging and insightful content. They've inspired me to be on YouTube, and for that, they deserve some credit. Erica Mallet is one of the few YouTubers who have a knack for explaining how humans are subject to psychological traps, biases, and traits that affect our thinking and our actions. She talks about connection, what makes people likable, and also various pop culture phenomena. She turns these phenomena that we observe in others into useful ideas and tips so we can use psychology to gain an advantage in our own lives. I'll leave a link to her channel as well as to a video about following your dreams and how inspiration actually follows action and not the other way around. Okay, back to this video. Next, let's talk about societies at the two extremes. So what does a society look like when truth dominates and order collapses? It's a place where too many competing narratives make it impossible to find shared ground. Everyone has their own version of reality, and trust erodes. Think of failed states where central authority breaks down, like Somalia in the 1990s, or more recently, the way disinformation floods can paralyze democracies. Without shared order, even true claims lose meaning because people can't agree on which truths matter. Philosophers like John Stuart Mill argued that freedom of expression is essential for truth, but even he admitted, without some boundaries, freedom can dissolve into noise. Too much truth with no order looks less like enlightenment and more like chaos. On the other side, what happens when order becomes absolute? History gives us many examples. The Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, Francoist Spain, or dynastic China. These societies prized unity and stability so much that uncomfortable truths were silenced, critics were jailed, and alternative narratives were erased. In the short term, order feels powerful. Trains run on time, streets are quiet, and the state looks invincible. But by crushing truth, these systems become brittle. The Soviet Union collapsed not from invasion, but from stagnation and lies that no one dared to challenge. Order without truth creates a stability so rigid, it eventually snaps. So next, let's talk about why order tends to be more common. If both extremes fail, why do we see more all-order societies than all-truth societies? The answer lies in psychology and power. Psychologically, humans crave certainty, and they're also risk-averse. In moments of crisis, people trade freedom for order almost instinctively. Politically, order is easier to impose from the top down than truth is to sustain from the bottom up. Leaders can silence dissent faster than they can create pluralism. Hobbes, in his Leviathan, argued that only a strong sovereign could prevent society from collapsing into a war of all against all. In that sense, all order societies have been the default throughout history, not because they're healthy, but because they're simpler to build. And then there's liberty versus authority. This tension also runs through philosophy. Hobbes believed in order above all, even if it meant sacrificing truth and freedom, because he feared chaos more than control. By contrast, John Stuart Mill, in On Liberty, argued that truth requires freedom, and society is stronger when dissent is tolerated, even if it's messy. These two views echo across history. In times of fear, we drift towards Hobbes. In times of confidence, we drift towards Mill. The pendulum between liberty and authority is really the pendulum between truth and order. And then let's revisit the causal loops. In high truth, low order society, the loop spins out. More competing truths reduce shared trust, which weakens order, which further fragments truth. The result is a collapse into chaos. In high order, low truth society, the loop looks stable at first. Suppression creates order, order suppresses more truth, but it builds hidden fragility. When suppressed truths finally surface, through crisis, resistance, or collapse, the whole system breaks. Different paths, same destination. Extremes can't sustain themselves. The lesson is clear. Balance isn't optional, it's survival. Next, let's talk about balancing truth and order in the age of artificial intelligence. Is there a happy medium? Here's the central question. Can truth and order exist in harmony, or does one always come at the cost of the other? On the surface, they look like opposites. Truth disrupts and order contains. But systems thinking suggests they're not enemies, they're feedback loops. Truth exposes flaws, order integrates them. Without truth, order becomes brittle. Without order, truth becomes noise. The challenge for modern societies, especially in an AI-driven world, is not to choose between them, but to design systems where each strengthens each other. That's easier said than done. And technology is a double-edged sword. Technology accelerates both truth and order. On one hand, AI can fact-check, detect fraud, and organize information at a scale no human could. That strengthens order. On the other hand, AI can also generate misinformation, deepfakes, and infinite competing truths. That fuels chaos. In other words, AI is not just a tool, it's an amplifier. It takes our social struggles and turns up the volume. The question is, do we let AI become the referee of truth and order, or do we stay in the loop as humans? Outsourcing the balance might seem efficient, but it risks locking us into systems we can't easily escape. And then there's feedback versus censorship. Donella Meadows, a professor of systems thinking, taught that systems thrive when feedback is open and timely. Societies with healthy feedback let truth surface even if they're uncomfortable, and then the societies adapt. Societies that fear truth suppress feedback instead, creating echo chambers and blind spots. In the AI age, our information systems, from search engines to social media platforms, act like gatekeepers. Will they be designed for feedback or for censorship? A society that leans into feedback gets messy but resilient. A society that leans into censorship gets quiet but brittle. Which one are we building? And here's the psychological twist. Humans are wired for shortcuts. We love order because it feels safe, and we love truth because it feels empowering. In an AI-enabled society, we'll be tempted to let machines make the trade-off for us. Let the algorithm decide what's true. Let the system filter out chaos. But this creates a new danger, automated order that hides its own biases. A critical thinker asks, whose truth is the machine protecting? And whose order does it serve? Without vigilance, we may find that the balance is being decided for us, quietly, in code. So what does balance look like? It's not a perfect split between truth and order. It's a system that adapts. Adaptive order means rules flexible enough to absorb new truths, but structured enough to prevent collapse. Think of a democracy that protects free speech, but has institutions to adapt to feedback, or a company that encourages whistleblowers, but also enforces core values. The key is resilience. Resilient systems bend without breaking. They give truth space to breathe while keeping order strong enough to hold the center. That's the sweet spot we should be aiming for. And here's the last loop. In a balanced society, truths surface and trigger adaptation. Adaptation strengthens order, which in turn creates more space for new truths to emerge safely. It's a reinforcing loop of resilience, not fragility. AI can play a role here, not by deciding truth or enforcing order, but by helping humans see patterns, filter noise, and make better choices and adaptations. The real danger isn't that we pick truth or order. The danger is that we stop asking how they work together, because societies that find balance don't just survive, they thrive. Thanks for watching today. My 3 key takeaways are: truth without order is chaos. Order without truth is just control. Choose wisely. Next, societies thrive when systems adapt, not when they silence. And then last, in the age of artificial intelligence, ask, are we building balance or are we picking sides? So what do you think? Which is better? What do we tend to lean more towards? Is a balance even possible? Comment below and tell us. If you like what you saw today, please go ahead and like and subscribe, as I will keep content like this coming your way. And as you know, it's my goal to make this content entertaining and funny, enlightening and educational, as well as a little bit nostalgic. Stay tuned as we'll get more into core topics ranging from consciousness to physics, philosophy and psychology, and the intersections in between that affect your thinking and being. But until then, keep thinking and being, and do not go gentle into that good night.